Someone in the comment section of a prior video told me to check out licensing board videos, and I thought they meant medical licensing board, and we had kind of done one of those before, and I looked it up and I found an interesting one. But man, the drama's in the liquor licensing board. Wow! I can't remember who it was, and I apologize for that. I couldn't find it again, but thanks for the heads up. Let's head to Boston. Boston. He's got some drama.
Good morning. This is a hearing before the Licensing Board for the City of Boston. Today is Tuesday, February 6th, 2024. Today's hearing is being held pursuant to temporary amendments to the open meeting law. That is what allows us to meet virtually. Today's hearing is being recorded and will be posted to the City of Boston's website. Before I review procedural matters, I will introduce Chairwoman of the Board, Kathleen Joyce.
Good morning. My name is Kathleen Joyce. I'm Chair of the Boston Licensing Board. Thank you for joining us today. I'm also joined this morning by Commissioner Liam Curran and Commissioner Kiana Saxon.
Thank you. Please ensure that your audio and visuals are working properly. I will call each item in the order that it appears on this morning's agenda. I will then ask who is present on behalf of the licensee and who is present on behalf of the Boston Police Department, and whether there are any other individuals with firsthand knowledge of the alleged incident who wish to testify. I will then swear in all parties. After that, the police report will be read into the record, and the licensee or their representative will have the opportunity to make a brief statement, followed by questions by the chair and commissioners. All testimony will be limited only to those individuals with firsthand personal knowledge of the alleged incident. We'll begin with the first item on this morning's agenda, calling item number 1, BHC Corporation General Partner doing business as Club Cafe, located at 209 Columbus Ave. Dated the incident November 4th, 2022. 911 call for staff on patron assault in violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 64, and Chapter 265, Section 13A.
That was a lot of information in a really short period of time. So, Club Cafe is a nightclub located in Boston. There's a lot of nightlife along a certain couple roads, blocks in Boston, and they have events that happen every so often, like pre-planned events, comedy shows, karaoke, things along that nature. They have amazing specials. I totally need a love letter martini with some drinkable glitter. OMG. They also have a drag show that's happening this weekend. They advertise what's going on. They're LGBTQ friendly, and they advertise that. So that is a well-known fact. This will be important later. So the two statutes that were referenced, the first one is the licensing authority has noted authority to do what they're doing, yada, yada. The second one is the assault statute, which is the crime that was committed, the reason that they're here. Just to give you a little understanding, because he talked really fast.
Who is present on behalf of the licensee?
Good morning, Chairman. My name is Donald Vaughn. I'm with Burns and Levinson, and I'm present on behalf of the licensee. I also have the general manager of the licensee, Jim Morgrave, who is present here. And in addition, I believe, yes, Tim Yeager, who is head of security and was on duty that evening, is present also.
Thank you. And who is present on behalf of the Boston Police Department?
Can't get the video to work.
Michael Sullivan.
Detective
Awesome.
James. Just trying to get my video to work.
Thank you, Detective. We have Officer Sullivan.
Officer
Detective
Mike Pankovich.
Officer Pankovich. Thank you. And Officer Pankovich, is it possible to turn your camera on as well so we can swear you in? Thank you. Detective James, it seems like we are having trouble accessing your video. Can you please affirm to the board that you will raise your right hand when asked to do so?
I will. Just working on the video still, but I will raise my right hand.
Thank you. Are there any other individuals with firsthand knowledge of the alleged incident who wish to testify this morning? Can you all please raise your right hand? And Detective James, can you just please affirm that you're raising your right hand?
My right hand is raised, sir.
Thank you. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
I do.
Thank you. Who
I
will
do.
be reading the police report into the record?
Detective James, I'll read the report, sir.
Thank you, Detective James. You may please proceed.
Okay, in regards to this incident, at about 12:21 a.m. on 11/4/22, Officer Pankovich in the Delta 421 Alpha Unit, along with Officer Mahoney in the Delta 441 Alpha Unit, and Sergeant Sullivan in the Delta 912 Unit responded to a radio call for an assault in progress at Club Cafe, 209 Fifth Avenue. Still in? On arrival, the officers were directed inside by security. Officers spoke with security manager Tim Yeager and manager Stephen Fonseca. Mr. Yeager stated that he was alerted by security staff of an incident in the area of the bathrooms. When he got there, he was notified that one of their security staff had punched two patrons. Mr. Fonseca stated that he was alerted of the incident and headed to the bathrooms and observed a fight between their staff. Robinson and Bruce, victim one, Juan Seda. Mr. Fonseca stated that he intervened and attempted to pull the suspect off the victim. Mr. Fonseca stated that he was pulling the suspect away from victim one. The suspect punched victim two in the face several times. Mr. Fonseca stated that he was able to separate all parties. Officer Pankovich was brought into the kitchen where the suspect was located. Mr. Ambrose stated that he was positioned in the area of the bathroom and stated that while in the area of the bathroom, victim one walked past and began to hit on him. Mr. Ambrose stated that the victim kept hitting on him even after he asked him to stop. Mr. Ambrose stated that a verbal altercation between them occurred, and during that, the victim threatened to kill the suspect. Mr. Ambrose stated that the altercation became physical and ended up on the ground. Mr. Ambrose then stated that while dealing with victim one, a second individual approached and began to yell at him. Mr. Ambrose stated that it was at this point that he punched victim two, Mr. Christopher McGee. The officer attempted to speak to victim one, Mr. Juan Seda, but he was extremely intoxicated and refused to speak with the police and denied being in a fight. Officers then spoke with victim two, Mr. Christopher McGee. Mr. McGee stated that he was in the bathroom when the altercation started. Mr. McGee stated that victim one walked past Mr. Ambrose and called him handsome. Mr. Ambrose told victim one to shut the F up. Victim one and Mr. Ambrose got into a verbal argument about getting hit on. Mr. Ambrose then directed victim one to leave. Victim one left the bathroom area and Mr. Ambrose followed. Mr. McGee then stated that Mr. Ambrose began to punch victim one several times in the head, yelling, "F you, faggot," several times. Mr. McGee.
Sorry, Detective James, your audio just cut out. Just asked you to unmute again.
Am I back?
Yes, you're back.
Okay. All right, I'll go back to the top. Officers then spoke with victim two, Mr. McGee. Mr. McGee stated that he was in the bathroom when the altercation started. Mr. McGee stated that victim one walked by Mr. Ambrose and called him handsome. Mr. Ambrose then told victim one to shut the F up. Victim one and Mr. Ambrose got into a verbal argument about getting hit on. Mr. Ambrose then directed victim one to leave. Victim one left the bathroom area and Mr. Ambrose followed. Mr. McGee then stated that Mr. Ambrose began to punch victim one numerous times in the head, yelling "F you, faggot" several times. Mr. McGee stated that he was shocked at this and attempted to intervene by yelling at the suspect. Mr. McGee stated that Mr. Ambrose turned towards him, yelled "F you, fag," and punched him in the face and the side of the head several times before it was broken up. Mr. McGee was checked out at the scene by Boston EMS, but declined to be transported at that time. Later in the night, Sergeant Sullivan issued Club Cafe a license premise violation for staff on patron assault. Sergeant Sullivan, while was on scene for that incident, met with Tim Yeager, the manager of the club, conducted a license premise inspection, code 35. He found Mr. Yeager and the club staff to be cooperative and the license to be conspicuously posted. With a license premise inspection notice was issued. That's what we have.
Thank you, Detective. And we do have two supplementals as well. Who will be reading those?
Detective James read the first supplemental. The second supplemental is just a clearance report from following the arrest of Mr. Robinson, Mr. Ambrose, I should say.
Thank you, Lieutenant Troy. Attorney Vaughn, would you like to address the alleged incident?
Yes, thank you. First, I'd like to mention that Steve Porica, who was also a member of the staff on scene at that night, is on this the Zoom call. And I also need to correct one thing. I had delivered a letter yesterday to the board. There's one misstatement in it. I had thought there was no video of the incident, whereas in fact there is of the incident itself. Later, there was a statement in the one of the reports that the victim one appeared to be intoxicated. We had tried to get security camera footage showing the victim one walking around and not appearing to be intoxicated. That was the memory of employees of the licensee. However, because the incident happened over a year ago, by the time we got the police report and that statement, the camera had already automatically deleted that footage. We had preserved the footage with regard to the incident itself and can provide that to the board if the board would like. Okay, that being said, what I'd like to say first off is that this is a once in the life of this licensee incident. The licensee has been has held a license for over 40 years now. It has not had an incident like this before. In addition, I should say that Club Cafe is known in the LGBT community as a welcoming space. It is a space that is oftentimes used by LGBTQ community groups and members for fundraisers. It is largely LGBTQ owned, and this incident is painful to the organization to have happened, given the homophobic slurs that are alleged to have been thrown around. That said, just wanted to be clear, and I don't know, given this format, whether this is possible, but it's my understanding from speaking with the club employees, the licensee employees, that they fully cooperated with the police. And if we could just get some affirmation of that, that would be appreciated. Even nodding of a head that yes, there was no indication of they're not
Yes,
operating.
yes,
Yes, I can actually.
assisted us the entire night.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Yes, and as a detective, I can agree with that also. They provided video and they were cooperative.
Thank you very much, Detective. The incident itself is one that resulted in the immediate firing of Robertson Ambrose that evening. This, we believe, is an incident that the licensee could not have foreseen. It acted in a reasonable way leading up to it, during it, and following it. Leading up to it, excuse me, Mr. Ambrose was viewed as a very good employee. He had been employed by the licensee for only about 6 weeks. During that time, he seemed totally comfortable with the environment. During the hiring and also training, it was made clear to him that the licensee is frequented by large numbers of members from the LGBT community, and that if he were uncomfortable with that, he did not indicate any, he did not articulate that either verbally or indicate it by his actions. So this was a surprise to the club. When this occurred, the club promptly took what it believed to be the right steps, not only in calling the police. It may have been that victim number 2, Mr. McGee, also called the police. We were a little unclear about that from the report, but the club also did, Mr. Yeager did. In addition, once the incident occurred, Mr. Ambrose was fired that evening or that night. He, as was alluded to by, I believe, Detective Troy, was subsequently charged by the district attorney with assault and battery and also with violation of civil rights. That matter is still proceeding. In fact, tomorrow there is a hearing in it for jury election and for discovery. So that's proceeding apace. After Mr. Ambrose was fired, he in fact contacted Mr. Yeager, head of security, a couple times to check in on the victims, mainly victim number one, and expressed remorse at what had happened. Club Cafe, the licensee, has used this incident following it as part of its training as to what can never happen again by any employee of the club, and has not been and has been has included this in many of its trainings going forward. One of the things that I'm, obviously trying to think, is it that relevant to the incident or not? The use of the word, effing faggot, sorry, that's what the report says, is something that is in the report. It came from testimony by, I believe, victim number 2, Mr. McGee, to the police. But it's something that employees of the club frankly did not hear. We're not saying that Mr. McGee didn't hear it. It's just that it's strange, given the close quarters, that employees of the club would not have heard that, where Mr. McGee included it in the report. In summary, the club did what it could to screen potential employees. It then trained them well. It made clear to them, as part of the hiring process, the nature of the clientele of the club. And when its policies were violated, promptly acted by firing the Mr. Ambrose. In addition, the club has used this incident as a teachable moment in what needs to never occur again at Club Cafe. I don't know if Mr. Morgrace or Mr. Yeager have anything to add. Jim and Tim.
I think you pretty much said everything in there.
Yeah,
Jim?
I'm good. I would just reiterate that that we do a criminal background check on everybody that's hired here, as well as reference checks, and nothing out of the ordinary came up in either of those. And clearly this is my personal worst fear when dealing with all of the security personnel that we now use to manage and keep the club safe, both internal security and external security. So that's it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anything further, Attorney Vaughn, before we move to questions from the board?
No, thank you.
Thank you. We'll see if there are any questions, beginning with Chairwoman Joyce.
So, sir, I am Christopher McGee, and I am victim 2. I just want to make sure that you know that I'm on Zoom and would like also to testify and give a statement. I just want to let you know that I'm here, and whenever that's appropriate to do so, I would like to do so.
Thank you, Mr. McGee. I do not believe you have been sworn in yet. So can you please raise your right hand?
Sure,
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Chairman Joyce, do you have any questions for the licensee, or would you like to hear Mr. McGee's testimony first?
I just have one question. At the outset, they mentioned that he was employed for 6 weeks and trained. What does that training consist of? Is it in-person training? Is it a module? Is it online training?
It's in-person training. we take them around the club, show them all the areas of the club, exits, everything, how to keep people safe, where to take people, what to look for in the club, all that information.
Specifically, do you have any training on de-escalation?
We do tell them, yes, and we have a no hands-on policy, specifically a no hands-on policy. They are all told that prior to hiring and after they're hired. The only time if we have to restrain someone and call the police if there's any kind of an incident like that.
And you also have an employee manual, which they are given
Correct.
and gone through.
Correct.
Thank you. Thank you both very much. I don't have any other questions.
Commissioner Curran or Commissioner Saxon, any questions at this time?
Not at this time. Thank you.
None from me at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. McGee, please proceed if you would like to provide any additional testimony to the board to consider.
Yes, thank you. I'd like to first thank the board for allowing me to appear here and give a statement of what transpired and the impact that it has and had on me. I've been going to Club Cafe. I've been out since the late 80s. I went through extensive amount of homophobia. I was forced out in 87. I was a 16-year-old kid. I've been going to Club Cafe for 32 years. And, you know, this incident brought back a lot of internal stuff that I went through back for 20 to 25 years. You know, thankfully, I survived the HIV crisis. I've been a victim growing up in a very rough city. I was, again, outed. I did not come out voluntarily. I was outed involuntarily. So I was subjected to a lot of violence growing up. And for a gay man that's 51 years old to go out socializing in a safe space within the LGBTQ community at Club Cafe, to have my guard down, that's where I should feel the most safest. That should be the safest environment for me. And unfortunately, it wasn't. And I want to let the board know, not only was I victimized by Mr. Ambrosio, the suspect that was apprehended and arrested, but I was also victimized 2 other times. And the first time I was victimized is when I was in the bathroom when it was just us 3. And the police report says that the victim 1 was hitting on Mr. Ambrosio, the attacker, and the bouncer. And I hope you all know what hitting on means. The only thing this overly and grossly intoxicated patron that they served way too much alcohol. To me, when you go into the men's room, it's a narrow corridor. The attacker was standing in this narrow corridor as you enter the men's room. The intoxicated patron came into the bathroom and squared off with the bouncer. I washed my hands and I'm unable to leave the bathroom. And I'm watching this intoxicated patron. He couldn't even hold his balance up well. He was stumbling left and right. And he was slurring his words. And he was talking in a very lethargic manner. And the only thing the patron said to this individual, Mr. Ambrosio, that he complimented by calling him handsome. And that's what set Mr. Ambrosio off. That's when he said, "Get the fuck out of my face, faggot." Well, the patron kind of looked shocked, stumbled, and said, "What's your problem? You work in a gay bar." Now I'm standing there. I'm maybe 3 feet away from these 2 people. I'm shocked. I mean, I can't believe what's happening. So obviously what I'm going to do when I clear the bathroom is I'm going to go to Mr. Yeager and the management, and I'm going to collaborate with security to let them know what transpired and have this individual removed. And I figured that would be that would solve the problem. Well, that didn't happen. This individual was so scared of Mr. Ambrosio and so grossly intoxicated, he didn't even come into the men's room to urinate or go to the bathroom or whatever he was doing. He decided to flee Mr. Ambrosio. And as he was walking briskly, stumbling, I may add, the attacker, Mr. Ambrosio, hunted him down like a dog. This guy couldn't even defend himself. He was walking forward, didn't even know that Mr. Ambrosio was behind him. Mr. Ambrosio came up and I watched him not only punch the victim, but he used all his might where he pivoted on his left foot and took his right arm as fast as he could, and then he ran as fast as he could, punched the victim in the side of the head, right around the ear, and I never saw someone go down so quickly before in all my life. Now I'm watching all this screaming. The head is very sensitive. People have died from one strike to the head like this. I'm screaming, you're going to kill him. You're going to kill him. And he was just pouncing on his head. And this poor guy, his face was bloody as a pulp. Don't know if he was that intoxicated, didn't even know what hit him. Got up, couldn't even remain his balance. But prior to him getting up, I just kept screaming, you're going to kill him. He was dropping the fucking faggot. So I don't know, the management didn't hear it, but I don't know if they were there because I was over them. And thankfully, I did intervene because I'm grateful for that, because this innocent victim was in tough shape. And by me intervening, screaming what I was screaming, thankfully, bad for me, but good for victim one, Mr. Ambrosio stood up, and he's a very quick guy. I'll give him that much. And before I could even get my arms up, he didn't say, he said, I will fuck you too up, faggot. And then once he hit my head, it was like a TV screen going out. I was in darkness. And when I was swinging to defend myself, I'm hitting the air while the attacker was striking me in the head. Now, I already witnessed what this individual was doing and has done. Imagine the fear that was going on in me when now I'm subjected to what I just watched. Well, I didn't get in one strike at all because I was blacked out. And when I came to, he was pinned against the wall. And there had to have been 3 or 4 security officers, or maybe security officers mixed in with patrons, but I believe they were all security officers. Once my blurry vision came back a little bit, he was still trying to come after me. Now, I listened to Mr. Vaughn, Attorney Vaughn. I agree with him slightly, and obviously I disagree with him on some points. I think Club Cafe has done wonderful things for the LGBTQ plus community. But the story gets worse. On this incident, they failed on multiple levels. And I would like to try to retrieve the video of this intoxicated person, because once I came to, now I was swimming underwater in panic of my life. And who do I run to? I ran to the security manager, the person that's in charge of the entire security for Club Cafe at the nighttime. Basically, the security and safety of the gay community is in this individual's hand. And as we know through history, unfortunately, recent history, there's been many attacks of gay people in gay bars. When you hate gay people, where do you go? Not a bad spot to go. And we've had mass shootings in gay bars. And when this attack was going on, when he was beating the pulp to the first victim, people was screaming in the bar, watching this going on. Then when they see a security staff member get off this individual and start beating Beat to a pulp, people were horrified in the bar because they didn't know if they were next. Drinks were crashing, people were screaming, and they were exiting the bar. They didn't know what was next. So when I went to Tim Yeager, I mean, I'm at my weakest point now, and I'm going to him as a leader to say, oh my God, help me, Tim, help me. This is what happened. He sat there cool as a cucumber. His eyes were rolling, mocking me. And I told him, I want this person detained. He's not free to leave. You need to call the police department. You need to secure these witnesses here. He looked at me and said, you do your job, I do my job. And I'm begging Tim. I go, Tim, this guy's gonna die. He's just got his head beaten. He's leaving, rolling his eyes. I looked to Stevie, the other manager, and thankfully for him, he looked in my eyes and he gave me comfort, and he kept nodding his head to me, yes. And I looked at Stevie's eyes, and he was shocked and had empathy, and he didn't know what to do. He was just beside himself. The manager, I'm telling him, Tim, this is serious. Your bouncer just attacked 2 patrons. Put his hand up like, Tim, I was begging him, secure witnesses. This person needs to be arrested. Do you know who had to secure witnesses? The second victim, me. I had to grab a hold of people and hug them. And thankfully, people are in fear. They wanted to get out of there. Thankfully, I had one courageous person that hugged me back and said, I am not leaving you. I am staying with you. I saw everything, and they're not treating you right. This is not right. And getting a little emotional. And he stayed with me. And again, I'm still trying to work with Tim. I need this guy's information. Call the police, call an ambulance. I was met with, you do your job, I do my job. I do my investigation, you can go do your investigation. Well, I did. That forced me, thankfully, I had to go call the Boston Police Department on my own while I still held a witness. And I ordered Tim Yeager. I wanted the suspect's information. And do you know what he told me? He's left the building. You're not getting it. So Tim Yeager aided and abetted this guy, hid him in the kitchen, and kept telling me he left the building. Now, I have this on recording, my cell phone. At this point, I don't trust Mr. Yeager. I don't think anyone in the room would either. Okay, I call the Boston Police Department now. I'm dizzy, I'm nauseous, I have vision problems, and I have hearing problems. And all this was related to Tim Yeager. Did he, again, offer me, I gave him all my symptoms. Did he call an ambulance for me? Absolutely not. Did he call the police department? Absolutely not. Now, Mr. Vaughn said he called the police department. I would like to look into that. My guess is Tim Yeager might have called the police department after I'm on the phone panicking to the Boston police. Yes.
Excuse me. I'm just going to ask you to not to focus on Mr. Yeager, but to focus on, what you witnessed and.
Absolutely, ma'am. And I apologize, but Mr. Yeager, this is a licensing about an alcohol. He's in charge of that. And if that's the way Club Cafe.
I understand, but as the administrative body will determine that the regular.
Sure.
I just want you to, if you could just wrap up.
Sure.
Instead of giving your opinion, just share that, wrap up what happened from your.
Sure, I'm going to wrap up. This is exactly what Tim Yeager left me. I called the Boston Police Department, and thankfully, I want to thank Sergeant Sullivan, and I would like to thank Officer Mahoney because they arrived quickly and professionally. They got the name, they conducted their investigation, and based upon their help is the reason why we're able to file charges and provide me aid that they didn't provide me. And then I ended up in the emergency room with medical issues over this. So I think Tim Yeager, the way they're training, he's the manager, the way he handled this horrendous attacks, I feel the board needs to know that. And that's why I am focusing on him as well. And again, I'm looking forward to the criminal case and I'm looking forward to justice. And I appreciate once again, Commissioner, for allowing me to speak. And if anyone has any questions for me, I'll be more than happy to answer them.
Thank you, Mr. McGee. Chairman Joyce, any further questions?
I have no
You're
questions.
very welcome.
Commissioner Curran or Commissioner Saxon, any further questions?
I guess the point of, did the premises call the police as well? Because the notice says that police were called by a patron, doesn't mean that you guys didn't call as well. Did you call the police?
I went to call the police and they were walking in at the time that I was calling. The Mr. McGee's testimony there is not anywhere close to what we were saying about the whole situation.
Did you call the police?
When I was on the phone, they were walking in. Yes.
Okay. How long would that have been between?
Pardon me?
How long would that have been between the time that the incident occurred and you were just about to call the police and they walked in? What was the time?
I don't recall off the top of my head, 7 or 8 minutes, maybe. They arrived very quickly. I didn't realize that they were even called at the point that when they walked in.
You went 7 or 8 minutes without calling the police for this incident?
I was still working with getting them separated, separating Mr. Ambrose and trying to find out from him what happened, trying to find out from everybody what happened.
Did anyone from Club Cafe call the police in those 7 or 8 minutes?
I'm not sure.
Attorney Vaughn, do you know the answer to that question?
I do not know.
Okay, what video do you say you have video for us? What is it of, and what don't we have?
Of the actual incident itself, from when Mr. Ambrose hit the victim number 1, and also when he pushed victim number 2, Mr. McGee. Mr. McGee was not knocked out according to the video. I mean, it doesn't show that he was knocked out.
Commissioner Kern, if I may.
Yeah, thank you.
Just reading from the computer-aided dispatch here, I see that the only caller that it notes there is a victim. The caller states the suspect was assaulting another person, and several other calls that all come from the caller states as he is a witness to an assault, so it doesn't indicate in any manner that the establishment called.
Okay, thank you.
Can I add one other thing too? Mr. McGee also stated that he was a police officer and he was going to arrest Mr. Ambrose. And that's when I was over there. I actually heard those words. I intervened at that point and told him he was not going to arrest him. I said, I said, you've been drinking. You can't be involved with this situation if you are an officer right now. And that's, at that point with that information.
Commissioner Saxon, any questions?
Yeah, just a couple. So how many security staff did you have on that evening?
Typically we have anywhere from 8 to 10. We have people located outside at different positions in the club.
And so Ambrose, was he located near the bathroom? Is that why he was?
Yes, he was in the bathroom area.
Was it just part of like he's on a tour, just he goes
Nope.
through the bathroom, or
No, he was
stationed?
stationed in the bathroom area. Yes, we have people stationed in the bathroom area, people stationed in the club area, people stationed at the side door, front door.
And how many patrons were there that evening?
Oh, I don't recall.
It was a
Maybe
very
a
slow
couple.
night, at least.
Yeah.
Um, when the incident occurred, like I was in the lower bar area and there weren't a ton of patrons around at the time.
And was there an internal investigation? Did you write down statements of other patrons? Like, did you talk to them, or did you, like, what was your internal investigation procedure?
I asked, obviously, Mr. Ambrose and any other the security that was around in the area. There were no witnesses that wanted to say anything.
This is, excuse me, this is Donald Vaughn again. Tim, can you explain what the explain that you have on-staff security together with a security service?
Correct, we do. We have inside and outside security. We hire outside as well.
And both the outside security and inside security, on-staff security, filed incident reports as part of the Club Cafe procedure, copies of which are in the materials which I provided to the board.
Correct.
There's testimony that there was excessive drinking. Do you have any receipts of either victim?
I do not. In the video, you can see the first individual when he got up. You can see that he wasn't stumbling. So I don't. It's clearly in the video. You can watch the video.
So just as a point of information, can we get that video or we could talk about it here or offline? What is the best way of getting the video to the board?
There are two methods. You can either email it directly to licensingboard@boston.gov, or you can drop off a flash drive to room 809 in City Hall. And either way, we will make sure that it's provided to the board as soon as received. Anything further from the board?
I do have another question for the premises. What was his experience in the area of nightclub security, and what was his references? And I just want to say in general, and I don't know, I don't want to put too much on you in this case, but I am concerned with the idea that someone with a particular animus towards a particular community would infiltrate premises that serves that community. And, you know, I'd like to explore a little bit the idea of like what can be done, what was done, what could be done in this situation. I know that obviously if someone wants to hide their motivations, they might be able to, but in this case, you know, what was his experience and what were the reference checks?
To my knowledge, I don't have the application in front of me, but to my remembering, he had no prior security experience. And we don't require prior security experience because we train inside.
And
references are called that they give on their applications, and nothing came back.
Could I just weigh in towards his I don't know, his character, I guess. In terms of the homophobic accusations, when he started working, he became friendly with me. I DJ at Club Cafe as well. He would come in as I was setting up, and he would kind of just talk to me and ask me questions. So we got like a friendly rapport. And at one point he disclosed to me that he started working at Club Cafe because he was unsure of his sexuality, and he was hoping to become more comfortable with that. So I personally never heard any slurs. So I find it hard to believe that someone who is trying to work at a gay venue to become more comfortable with their sexuality would throw that out. And that's just my opinion.
Anything further from the board?
I need a moment. I'm reading something else that they submitted. I think I've asked all the questions I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Chairman Joyce, Commissioner Saxon, anything further? Board will take this matter under advisement. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Calling item number 2.
I'm sorry. I think the victim actually has his finger up like he wanted to have something else.
Okay, Mr. McGee.
Yes, thank you. I just want to, Tim Yeager went on the record, and this is being recorded, and it's going to be for anyone to view. And I do want to put it for the record is Tim knows I've been a police officer for decades. And typically, yes, I wanted to stop and hold him so Boston Police Department could come down. I have sworn in the county, and again, I was trying to collaborate with Tim, and most well-attuned managers would use me as a resource and collaborate with me. And usually when off-duty police officers watch someone get their bag beat out of them and then they get beat, they will tend to usually want to hold the suspect that did that. So I want to go on the record. I don't want anyone to think that I'm not a police officer and I was lying that I was a police officer, but I am. And I took the most reasonable actions that I possibly could. So I just wanted to put that on the record that most off-duty police officers would have conducted themselves the same fashion that I did. And they would have met with different security managers to collaborate with us to rectify the problem. And I just wanted to go on the record. And again, I want to thank everyone for allowing me to testify.
Thank you, Mr. McGee. One last time, anything further from the board on this matter? Item number 1, BHC Corporation General Partner, doing business as Club Cafe, located at 209 Columbus Ave. Date of the incident, November 4th, 2022. This was a 911 call for staff on patron assault in violation of Mass General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 64, and Chapter 265, Section 13A. We have been notified by the licensee's counsel that they are expecting to submit further affidavits and supplemental briefing materials that the board has not yet received.
Okay, I'm still prepared to discuss and vote if other commissioners are.
Yeah.
Do you want to defer? I don't mind.
Who are the affidavits coming from? Do we know?
All I know, at least one of them is from a supposed witness who was there that evening. There was one witness testimony. It was an email that we received last night that they are now putting into affidavit form. And if there is one other, I do not know who that is coming from.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely have thoughts. I just don't know. You know, do we want to go forward when they're claiming they have more to give us? I mean,
No, I respect that. I appreciate that. And it is a serious thing that occurred.
I don't think there's any harm in deferring.
There was a lot to review yesterday.
Yeah. Yeah, especially how serious it is. I don't want any accusations that we didn't give them, full opportunity. And so, it's been a long time since it happened. I don't think we're need to be in any kind of rush. I think we could just have what they have. And if we don't like what they submit, we can state on the record that, we didn't give it much weight or it was late or, There's a concern that they're kind of trying to button up after the testimony. I think we can properly weigh that, so,
Okay,
yeah.
we'll defer this one, Danny.
Great. The
To
vote on
make it
this will
all the
be,
information.
great. The vote will be deferred to allow for the submission of additional materials.
I'd really like to know what everybody thinks about this one. This is kind of a hard one for me. Do you believe victim 2? Or do you believe the DJ? And if you believe victim 2, then what kind of responsibility does the club have? Did the manager wait too long to call? Was he protecting the security guy? Is the manager responsible for his hiring practices or training practices for not catching the fact that he was possibly homophobic? Or whatever his issues were? Like, liability on this one's all over the place. J. Robine Law would have a field day with this. Tell me what you think in the comments.